Today's the day that I leave for Camp Chesterfield, Indiana to teach my workshop this weekend on spirit guides. Um, this is my first time there, my first time teaching there, let alone visiting. Um, I woke up a little later than I wanted. I left a little later than I wanted. And I remember asking, just sort of putting that intention out there that everything goes smoothly and that this trip be blessed. And first thing I had to do was stop for gas, and it started raining so hard that just from my car to the gas station door, I was soaked. So I'm praying that the rest of this trip goes a little bit more smoothly. But I am looking forward to being there. It's not that far of a drive from where I live. It's not really much further than Lilydale. It's just the opposite direction. And yeah, I'll keep you posted. I made it to Chesterfield. I'm almost to the camp. I think it's like a mile or less than that down the road. Um, the drive was strange. So this morning, I was getting ready. The electricity went out, which I thought was odd because it wasn't storming or anything. And then I was in the basement and I heard this loud crash upstairs. I couldn't find anything. And then I leave, and as you know, it started raining really hard and storming really bad. So I thought, I don't know, things just weren't going right this morning. And then finally the rain let up, and I saw this bald eagle fly across the street where I was driving. And if you know me, you know that bald eagles have significance to me. So I took it as a sign. As I always do, they show up in significant ways or with significant messages. So I got a little further into the drive, and it started raining really hard again. I hit severe thunderstorms. I was on a highway with a 70-mile-an-hour speed limit, and people were driving like 15 miles an hour with their emergency flashers on. It was raining so hard you couldn't see in front of you. So I actually got a little nervous because it was really bad, but it stopped. I stopped just a couple miles outside the camp to get something to eat, and hopefully we'll get there and get all checked in and settled in. So I made it to Chesterfield last night. Very different than Lilydale. The vibe here is much more like laid back, much more relaxed, a little bit more loose. It's not as big as Lilydale, but there's a lot of really cool things. It's very beautiful here. It's very peaceful here. The people have been really wonderful. I started to walk last night and bumped into a group of people. They ended up showing me around. They knew Rita Martin back from where I'm from. Apparently her house is just down the street here. And then I'm staying at this, let's see here if I can flip the camera, Western Hotel, which is very cute, very charming. I'd heard that it was haunted. I didn't really have any experiences. No one bothered me last night in my room. It was interesting to walk around last night because it's not like officially open season yet, so there's not a lot of tourists and stuff here. And it was after dark, and I was just walking around, and I went by the church, and there was this man sitting in the dark on this bench. He was wearing black. He had on a black cowboy hat, kind of chin or shoulder length, long gray hair, and like a staff, like a walking staff. And he was like, he didn't even acknowledge me. He just kind of was like in his own little world. He was like humming, singing to himself, rocking back and forth. And then after the fact, it's like, I wonder if that was a living person or a dead person. But other than that, today is my workshop. Like I said, everyone I've met has been really nice so far. I haven't really had to introduce myself because I guess I'm on like the flyers and stuff, so people have been recognizing me and asking me if I need anything, helping me to make connections. So yeah, I'm going to teach my workshop here in a little bit, and hopefully I'll explore a little bit more after. I want to check out the bookstore, and other than that, I'll keep you posted. My class went really well. Everyone seemed to enjoy it. I got to see the evaluation sheets when everyone was done. I was invited back next year. They want me to do a day class and a half-day class, and possibly looking at doing my 3-day psychic development course there, which is really cool. The whole weekend was really great. I enjoyed it. I met a lot of really good people, a lot of really good connections. Um, someone took me out to dinner after class and shared a lot with me about spiritualism and the processes of Camp Chesterfield, and it was very interesting to see. It was very interesting to see, the differences, and I actually learned too that there are a couple spiritualist camps right here in Ohio. I guess they're incredibly small, but they're here. Who knew? So I definitely want to check those camps out. And just sort of see what's up. One thing that I really kind of took from this weekend, and it's not something that I think surprises me that I've learned, but something that just sort of was anchored in me more fully, is I feel a deep sense of duty and obligation to spiritualism. And spiritualism has been sort of in this dying stage for so long that I feel like I have a purpose or some sort of part in bridging the gap between the current generation of spiritualists and my generation, and ensuring that the practices and the tenets and the belief systems and the philosophies of spiritualism don't die, and maybe somehow usher forward this new generation of spiritualism without some of the outdated aspects. I'm a traditionalist. I believe in sticking to tradition as long as they make sense, but I do think that there are some things with spiritualism, especially the politics of it, that need to go, and some policies need to change and be more current with the times. And I think that I have a role in that in some way. I'm just not exactly sure what that looks like yet. So, overall, Chesterfield was wonderful. The classes went really great. Again, met some really wonderful, really amazing people. Definitely planning on going back next year. Definitely planning on teaching again next year. Also looking at some of their coursework for certification through Chesterfield. I had intended to go and become registered through Lilydale, but now I'm a little bit conflicted, and I don't want one to create issues with the other, because I know that sometimes there can be some rivalry or, I don't know, different opinions, different perspectives of the different camps. Sometimes Chesterfield has a not so good reputation as far as fraudulence, but you're going to get that anywhere that you go to some degree. I don't know. I see pros and cons with both, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, other than that, I also learned too some things about spiritualism that I didn't know, the history that we didn't know. Like, for example, apparently the Fox sisters were like the Lindsay Lohans of their generation, who were like these America's sweethearts in the eyes of spiritualism, and were also these like alcoholic hot messes who were constantly fighting with each other. So that's fun little fun fact. The other thing too that I learned about, probably one of my favorite things that I learned over the weekend, was the Bang sisters. So the Bang sisters were mediums in the heyday of spiritualism, and they did what was called precipitated spirit art, which I'd never heard of. I was familiar with spirit art, spirit portraits, things like that, but with precipitated spirit art, basically they would put these canvases or these sheets of paper together, cover them with a cloth. They would go into circle or go into seance, and the amount of time varied, but when it was done, they would reveal these canvases, and spirit would literally manifest or precipitate these painted images on the canvas of sitters' deceased loved ones that were spitting images. And the neat thing about it is if you look at these paintings under close observation or a magnifying glass or a microscope, you find that there are no brush strokes. And when, I guess, and I don't know how true this bit is, but it's said that these paintings by the Bang sisters were studied, I think, back in the 70s, and the substance that appears on the canvases or the papers, it wasn't really canvas, the closest thing that scientists can describe this substance to is the dust that's on butterfly wings. It's not paint, which I thought was really fascinating. The other thing, too, that Todd Leonard, the historian at Camp Chesterfield, pointed out was that very, very few of the paintings actually have eyelashes. No one really knows why that is. The other thing, too, is there's one painting in particular, and I'll include this in sort of the slideshow of pictures that I insert into these videos, where it's a woman in a garden holding a bouquet of roses, and there's roses on the bush in front of her. And one of the women told me that when I went to the museum to make sure that I counted the roses, and I didn't understand why. Well, apparently the number of roses changes all the time, and that the portrait can actually change sometimes because it's spirit. So the first time I counted it, I counted 16 roses. The next time I went back, I counted 17. It doesn't ever seem like you can get a real fixed number, which I think is kind of interesting, that the pictures can still change and the images can still change. So yeah, if you haven't been to Chesterfield, check it out. If you've been to Lilydale, I suggest checking out Chesterfield. If you've been to Chesterfield, I suggest checking out Lilydale. I totally intend on checking out those other spiritualist camps. There's also one in the Midwest too, Camp Etna, I believe, in the Midwest, Illinois, Iowa, something like that. I'll have to double check that. But that looks like a really neat place as well. So definitely lots to explore, and I hope you enjoy some of the pictures in the video from Camp Chesterfield. See ya.